Our next item is for an adoption of the all hazard mitigation plan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
No, it's fine. Good morning. I'm Paul Gaslick with the City of Bellingham Emergency Management. The plan that you have before you is it's an extensive plan. Basically highlights all the different big hazards within the county. It was written 5 years ago and is required to update every 5 years. It goes over every potential hazard within the City of Bellingham and surrounding counties. Some of the updates to the plan. They have some updates on projects from County Public Works, new tables for jurisdictions and participating for the record each year, community presentations that they do to highlight any sort of hazards within other counties or cities itself. Were done in Linden, Ferndale, Acme, 3 times in Bellingham, Bologna Island, and Sun Valley. So this is just looking for a motion to approve the updated plan as required in 5 years.
Michael?
I just have a small question first. It looks like this has been drafted and redrafted. In some places it's called all hazards, in some places it's still called the natural hazards. We've added non-natural hazards to the plan as well. So what will it eventually be called if we approve it? I can prove it as a correct name.
Usually with federal standards, the all hazards mitigation plan. There are type hazards that are not natural or like cyber threats, that sort of things. We cyber threats to the nation and the world itself. So it is the all hazards mitigation plan.
Yes.
And then one more thing. I ordered that was in the packet and I found out it's 540 pages.
That's correct. It is available online. Nothing easier for you guys.
I guess it's a little strange, a little bit, I don't know, like, I was going all over that, the tsunami and earthquake portions. In particular, I noticed that tsunami threat is greatest up in Nooksack River. It's projected to go up, like, I don't know, a mile or two, it looks like, quite severe. And most of Bellingham wouldn't face much of a threat from the tsunami, it's predicted, except for the entirety of the waterfront.
That is
And I was
correct.
wondering why there was no mitigations there specific to the waterfront and its level. In the waterfront plans, especially in the planned action ordinance, it talks about raising the grade to reduce tsunami risk. But that's not in this plan as a mitigation going forward.
And the way that the plan is written is it can be updated on a yearly basis, so that's something that we can take into consideration. I've noticed that, and I'm very new to tsunamis and earthquakes. I've dealt with other emergencies, but this is new to myself, and I feel like a lot of the residents of Bellingham after reading the National New Yorker article. But what we usually utilize is the Department of Natural Resources for predicting, so you see a lot of those projections coming from them, and those change year to year as I'm finding.
They did have the Georgia Pacific site, and then in 07 they did. So this plan is adopted every 5 years, but it was looked at every year. So those types of items that you're talking about can be integrated into the county plan.
The reason why I asked is because the waterfront plan says we use best available science at the time to determine what the grade should be to reduce tsunami risk. And I guess I expected to be in this document. You say both this document and probably our plans we're referring to at other agencies in their annual. That's where best available science.
Yeah, that's where predictions happen, and then they get updated into this plan itself.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, took a bite. I move that we adopt the all hazards mitigation plan.
Okay. Any other comments? We have a motion before us to adopt the updated plan. All those in favor, answer aye.
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 Okay, we'll recommend to the full council today.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is an interlocal agreement with Whatcom County for stormwater maintenance service in Lake Whatcom watershed area and the city's urban growth areas.
Thank you, Ted Carlson, Public Works Department. This is something we talked a little bit about during the budget process because we actually did include some items in the 2015-16 budget in anticipation of this interlocal agreement. The city staff and the county have been working on this for quite a while. The idea of this interlocal agreement is that the city would help provide stormwater maintenance activities in the city's UGA, so areas like Geneva, Hillsdale, Tweed 20 area, as well as other portions potentially of the county, unincorporated county, as the county has new requirements through their Department of Ecology stormwater permit, their NPDES permit, National Pollution Discharge Elimination Systems permit, that has requirements for maintenance. The county at this point doesn't have the equipment or the personnel. This is not the type of maintenance that they've been doing a lot of, given that they don't deal as much as the city does with enclosed stormwater systems. So in talking to the County Public Works Department, this is a kind of a transitional way, or a way of transitioning into stormwater maintenance for them, allowing us to provide the maintenance through this interlocal agreement that does have a full cost recovery component to it. So the city will do the work and charge the county our cost of doing the work, including an overhead that is consistent with our other agreements with the county and their agreements with us, because this is something that is happening already in other areas where the city provides maintenance for the county. We do their traffic signal maintenance. They do our bridge inspections for us. They do some of our striping for us, and we do some other work for them as well. So it does go back and forth. What we included in the 2015-16 budget was a new Vector truck, so the equipment that would be used for cleaning out the catch basins and the vaults and cleaning the culverts, as well as personnel to do the work. So we will be ready to go in 2016 to start this work. Eric Johnston is here, as well as Mike Olinger, the maintenance superintendent that runs that type of operation for the city, and his crews will be doing the work. So if you do have any questions, we're happy to answer them. But the city staff thinks this is beneficial not only to the county, but to the city as well, because some of the areas we'll be maintaining are areas that do drain to Lake Whatcom. So there is an element of increased water quality for the lake as well. So we do recommend moving forward with this, and happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Michael.
Well, I think this is smart administration. So I will move to approve. But I just want to ask, over in the county, is Director Hutchings planning to steal all of her employees this way? Is that his plan?
This is actually, John's very supportive of this. It's something that I was working with Frank on as well. But no, this is a good collaboration. And
Came over here, he identified all of our best people, and now he's...
Yeah, exactly. I think he's very excited about this. But like I said, I think it's an opportunity for us to increase maintenance in our area as well, given that we're basically adding a truck and a crew, and we don't anticipate that we'll need 100% of that capacity in the county. So we'll be able to use some of that to enhance some of our maintenance in the city as well.
It suddenly occurred to me. I still would be moving for approval, but if this is an interim step, if the county just no longer needs the support and they can do it in-house next year, do we have a problem with building capacity we can't then use or pay for? That's not an issue?
It's really not an issue. We actually see this as an opportunity of gaining some capacity for the city as well, and transitioning into taking 100% of this crew back into the city. We have additional maintenance needs ourselves, and this is a way of gaining some additional resources, offsetting some of the costs with the county revenue. But ultimately, this new crew and piece of equipment will be working 100% in the city over time.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, we have a motion before us. All those in favor, answer aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll recommend approval tonight. And no, we got one more. That's right. Boy, I tried to just get us right out of here. Okay, our next and final item is the Commercial Street Parking Garage Improvement Project update.
Okay, thank you. As you recall, last year, Council directed staff to move forward with additional parking study downtown. The council adopted the downtown plan, the city center plan, as part of the My Downtown process. And as part of that, we did do a parking study that looked at capacity, availability of parking, some traffic counts or parking counts there. But there was a desire to look at that in more detail. What the city staff moved forward with was really working with the Downtown Business Partnership to take a different look at it rather than moving forward with another engineering study that would count parked cars and look at parking capacity and supply. Really spend some time working with the downtown business owners to understand their concerns about parking, their perception about parking, their thoughts about what needs to be done to improve parking downtown. And so we engaged the Downtown Partnership to do that. We have them under contract. Part of what they're doing is surveying the downtown business owners, meeting with them, understanding what some of the barriers have been to using the parking garage, for instance, or concerns they might have about operational issues downtown, from parking enforcement to the rate structure, really everything that has to do with shopping downtown, using our parking system, and facilitating economic development downtown. So we're excited about working with the partnership. I think that's a little bit different way of looking at parking, but really gets to the concern that is usually generated from the downtown business owners, is how parking impacts their day-to-day business. So that's something that we've started working on. We have a scope of work. Eric can speak about that in much more detail, but Nick is working on that, and I think it's anticipated to take about a year and a half to get that work done. And then what will come out of that is an outreach strategy, kind of a marketing strategy, as well as some recommendations about how we can potentially operate the system in a more efficient way. And Eric, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I just think we're pretty excited to be working with the downtown partnership on the issues related to parking. Tends to be a negative connotation about parking. That tends to be a fairly minority view from what we understand from the partnership, that we're trying to broadcast that out, that parking in downtown is a benefit to the business owners, and engaging with the partnership to overcome that negative perception is pretty important to us. We do see the opportunity potentially at the end of the parking story work that the partnership will be doing for us. If there's a need to come back and do another more formal technical engineering study, we can certainly do that. But are excited to engage with the partnership to extol the benefits, if you will, of parking in downtown, and find ways that we can make parking better for their business owners, and using that connection that we have, that longstanding relationship we have with the partnership, to develop that connection to parking as well. So finding those opportunities to engage with those business owners, property owners, on how parking can meet their needs better, and how we can put that to use, we feel, is a better use of the city's dollars rather than counting parking spaces again. So that's kind of the purpose and the intent. As Ted mentioned, it'll probably take about a year and a half to get that work done. In the meantime, we had talked last fall with the budget cycle about some improvements to the parking structure. We're not going to use the term parkade anymore. It's the parking structure in downtown. And it talked about incurring about $2.9 million worth of debt. We have kind of put that project on hold for the time being until we can work through this next study process with the Downtown Partnership. Clark Williams is here to talk a little bit today about where we started with the improvements to the parking structure and where we're at now, and where we're going to be going very, very shortly with those parking structure improvements. So, Clark, you want to talk about our graphic up on the screen?
Sure. Yeah, the slide that I have up on here is just kind of a historical image of where we're at. Initially, we had some basic maintenance needs in the parkade. It's structurally fine, but maintaining the deck surfaces and some of the fire cladding and initial stuff, just maintenance and operations. So in the 2012 budget, we had $400,000 for some maintenance work. We initiated the My Downtown Plan process. We did what's called I don't want to say it parkade again, but parkade perk up. So all the stakeholders went through the garage and identified all their concerns, and the My Downtown Plan, as council's aware, took a couple years to adopt. And so we put everything on hold. We waited till 2014 till the plan was adopted by council. We hired an architect out of Tacoma, BLRB, and they put together a full scope of work of what probably is necessary to renew the structure. That's the $4.6 million plan that you see. The Transportation Commission and the council wanted to do a little bit more study on what was necessary for the garage, and so we scaled the scope back, and that's where you see on the far right the $830,000 scope of work. So we're currently underway to actually go out to bid and do all the major facelift improvements that everybody wanted to see, like the major signage in front of the garage, take the word parkade off. It's going to be the commercial street parking garage. Do a lot of security enhancements. A lot of people don't feel safe in the garage right now. So cutting openings in the stairwells, adding some full-time security cameras and monitoring systems and stuff so that people feel comfortable and engaging when they come in the garage. And so, as Eric mentioned, we initiated about a 1.5 year scope of work with the Downtown Bellingham Partnership to engage the public to figure out what we really want to do long-term with the garage. So what we're doing right now in probably February is just doing the immediate facelift enhancements that we can to engage and vitalize the garage. And then we look forward to, by the end of 2016, figuring out what we really want to do with the structure itself.
What I would like to mention also, as part of the work, the contract with the Downtown Partnership, is that is to bring the connection from their Main Streets program and to engage that with the parking structure as well. So there's some time and effort and money for the partnership to support those connections between the Main Street program and the parking structure. At the same time, we're using parking funds to help support their efforts with the CAPAL programs. So the night market that's moving forward, we're using parking funds to provide the infrastructure necessary to support that. A couple of those other initiatives that are coming out of the Downtown Partnership and some other folks in downtown that we're using parking funds to help support those activities. So really, today's presentation was more intended just an update as where we're at, where council had asked for the study. This is what the study is going to be doing. It's through the Downtown Partnership to engage their participation and draw some feedback from them, and then really truly to meet their needs. To serve the needs of our customers, being the downtown business owners, property owners, and customers, and how can we best meet that need through parking, whether that's technology or improvements to the parkade, how we operate the system, or what that might need to be to meet their needs. Okay. That's all we had for you. Any questions, be happy to answer.
Michael?
Well, I'm glad we're trying to retrain ourselves, call it the commercial street parking structure. There's another word I want us to stop using, which is a study. The City Council did not ask for another study. We actually asked for a policy and programmatic review of parking and the parking structure and how it plays into it. And I think that is what you're doing. I just want to make sure we don't call it another study. And I just want to mention
It's actually, and we rebranded that. It's called the Parking Story. So
Yes,
when
Parking
you
Story.
press on
Right.
it, it's going to be the City
Parking
of Bellingham
stories.
Parking
Thank
Story.
you, Clark. Thank you. For those who don't know, the connection between the night market and the parking structure and the parking fund is the night market will be located in that plaza right next to the parking structure.
Yes.
And I think it's a great project because I was part of the PERCUP discussions when they were happening a couple years ago, and people don't come in and say, I'm really concerned about fire suppression and the size and preparation of this building. They come in and complain about its usability and aesthetic concerns. I'm really glad that there's this emphasis on aesthetic corrections. That rusty old sign, for example. But one of the other things that's constantly pointed out is the fact that the building face itself, which could be good commercial store frontage, is visually cut off, hidden, and behind a 3-foot-tall concrete wall that is around the ramp. And I've asked about this several times, if we could remove that wall and put in a railing which was transparent instead, still strong, but if you can't see the building, it's just not going to be a lively street front. Has there been some discussion on how difficult or expensive it would be to remove that barrier that runs for like 50, 60 feet right in front of the parking garage?
We can certainly ask our architect to take a look at that. I have not yet to date, but I will do that.
Michael?
Actually,
Roxanne, I'm sorry. Let's see the hand go.
I just wanted to thank the department simply because I feel like we're doing good diligence. We did so much to support Fairhaven. Now we can move the support to downtown. And I really value that we're actually asking the merchants for their input rather than just trying to do this all on our own. And the other thing that I want to say is I'm really glad that we're starting to have events in the commercial street parking garage because that's so much a part of placemaking. Facelifts are definitely a part of it, but so is getting feet on the street and getting feet into the parkade. So thank you.
Okay, Michael?
Yeah, I agree. I do like the way we are talking with the community. I've been on the Downtown Bellingham Partnership Board, I think, for about 3 years, and they have felt more and more included, I think, over the 3 years. by the city in these discussions. I think that's a really good thing. One of the other things that was talked about is, and Ted, you almost promised me this one day, one of the common ways that people find parking is with a recognized symbol, the international blue circle with a P in the middle of it. And for people who are new to this community or just visiting, they don't know this is a public parking structure. Those giant blue Ps, for example, placed on the corner along Holly, signage like that is what gets people to find this parking structure. It's actually pretty well used during the day, but it's not really used as much during the weekends or the evenings. That's when we have visitors coming downtown. Those are the people who I think could use the parking garage, and I don't think they can find it. If you're doing these aesthetic upgrades, these non-structural work, what is the chance of getting better directional signage and a giant blue P or something like that?
And Ted, I can answer that. We actually have a sub-consultant on board. He's a nationally known parking expert, and I believe the mayor has even approved the signing color, but we can bring that back to council. When we go out to bid for the improvements, he has a completely, I don't know, what do you want to call it, nationally known structure for the big P.
Yeah.
It's blue and green. It'll be on the big entrance sign when you come into the front of the parking garage. We're going to rebrand the railroad garage in the same manner so that the two are similar. And we actually are going to fix our wayfinding blades, the blue blades that you see coming in off Holly Street off Lakeway.
Right.
Yeah. So
What I guess I'm saying is I don't think we need to wait a year and a half for improved signage, because improved signage has been talked about for a while. I hope that's not going to wait a year and a half.
That's all scheduled to occur as soon as we go out to bid in the next couple of months.
Really great to hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Well, thank you for the report and the good work. And
Thank you.
End of committee.